Hello YouTube and welcome back to World of Warships with Wadres. Well, kind of in the loosest term, considering this video isn't actually going to be discussing World of Warships, or at least not showing World of Warships, but I am definitely going to be discussing it in this video. Just to give quick note, for those of you who are unfamiliar, though I would wager that there are a good number of you who aren't, the video in the background is me just going around playing Mass Effect 1 on my PC. During my just kind of 1 week wargaming hiatus, taking a break from World of Warships, World of Warplanes, and just kind of branching off into something that I've enjoyed for quite some time for a little bit, just because, well, I needed a little bit of a getaway from warships and warplanes. But anyway, kind of just getting away from that very quickly. One of the issues that I wish to discuss, and it is going to be a very heated issue based on how the forums have been and so on and so forth. World of Warships has proposed a the introduction of what they are calling the Naval Training Center somewhere along the way. This was something that was discussed apparently with the community contributors at the CC Summit just a couple of weeks ago. And, well, it has also been actually opened up in the development blog on the World of Warships forums. And, well, let's just say this is going to be an extremely controversial subject, to say the least, because what they're doing is, this is also being referred to by a couple of the community contributors, particularly iChase, as the Paragon system, if you've happened to come across his video already. And it's definitely not something small and simple. For starters, what this system entails would be any player who has managed to fully grind out 2 of their ship lines to tier 10 can basically sell all of their progress on that ship line for the opportunity to re-grind the entire line from tier 2 or wherever it starts all the way up to tier 10 and have the opportunity of purchasing an upgraded version of their tier 10 ship. Now, my basic understanding is to fully level this system out for, I'm not sure if it's a single ship or the entire line or whatever, but it would take something like 6 regrinds of an entire line to fully upgrade either an entire line or just one ship, which is an incredible amount of time to demand from your players, as far as I'm concerned, without a number of economic bonuses to kind of offset this grind. But that is not, that in itself is not necessarily the controversial point here. The controversial point of this Paragon, Naval Training Center, whatever you decide to call it, system, is the bonuses that these increased ship levels offer. Just for the level 1 upgrade, for battleships, that is a 15% increase to health pool. For cruisers, it is a 10% health increase and a 20% increase in rudder shift time. For destroyers, that is a 10% health pool increase, 10% reduction in consumable reload, 20% reduction in rudder shift, and 50% reduction in steering gear and engine gear repairs. This is just the level 1 bonus for whichever ship you decide to use this level upgrade on. To kind of put this somewhat in perspective, that health pool increase, 15% on a gross occur first, that takes it from 105,000 hit points to 121,670. That is a almost 16,000 hit point decrease, or sorry, increase in the health pool of the gross occur first alone. Now, some of you may be thinking that's really only about one solid citadel's worth of damage, but here's the question. When was the last time anybody actually scored a citadel on a gross occur first? I mean, okay, yeah, that may be still one solid broadside salvo into the ship's side plating, but again, just scoring that amount of damage on a gross occur first in a lot of cases can be very hit or miss, if you'll excuse the pun. I mean, that's a substantial amount of health. I mean, even the Yamato and the Montana get almost 15,000 points from this 15% increase. And yeah, while they are substantially easier to land citadels on, it's still sometimes that can be, I mean, granted, from your perspective as a survivability build, maybe, that's one more citadel that you can actually absorb, but at the same time, that's also another citadel that somebody has to deliver to you. And sometimes that can be an incredibly frustrating perspective from even just a general gameplay standpoint. Let's also look at the fact that, say you go up to the level 2 upgrade. For battleships, this is a 10% reduction in the main battery dispersion, as well as a 10% increase in accuracy and range of your secondary batteries. The secondary changes are also the same for cruisers, but their dispersion is affected by 15%, and destroyers see a 10% reduction to torpedo and main battery reload. Again, here we have just a long list of bonuses with no downsides for any of these upgrades. Now, granted, upgrade would imply that it is a good thing, or supposed to be a good thing overall. But at the same time, I would still kind of expect to see something along the lines of what you do from, say, the unique modules, instead of just straight base full-on bonus upgrades like this. And these are, I mean, 10%, 15%. These are not small numbers. These aren't small advantages. These are actually very substantial. On top of the fact, looking at the dispersion numbers, for the Yamato, that takes her base dispersion from 230 meters, or sorry, 256 meters to 230 meters. That is a substantially tighter dispersion ellipse than anything she has currently. Now, granted, any other battleship that had the same upgrade would receive the same change, but say that Yamato was going up against, say, a new player in their stock, or they're brand new tier 10, they've only just gotten their first tier line up to tier 10, and they're facing this already level 2 upgraded Yamato. I mean, holy shit, I wouldn't want to be in that ship. I'd much rather be in the Yamato under those circumstances, because I've got an incredible advantage under those circumstances, and it would honestly make me feel rather lousy to be on the receiving end of that Yamato's salvos. Even just switching down over to the destroyers, because I already mentioned their reloads. On a pure torpedo reload, the Shimakaze would go to a 90.18 second reload after the reduction. So every minute and a half, Shima's spitting out 15 torpedoes. The fastest destroyer with the Z-52 goes down to almost 50 seconds on her torpedo reload. That's 8 torpedoes she's spitting out in less than a minute. Repeatedly, if you have some of your torpedo spammer boats out there. Damn. And let's not even consider the fact that, say, instead of a torpedo reload, you're looking at somebody who's gone for main battery reloads. I mean, there you've got some nightmare fuel just looking at your Harugumo with 2.16 seconds after all of the bonuses are taken away. Granted, there are some others that aren't exactly slouches. I mean, look at the Gearing with 2.13, or maybe even the Daring at a substantial reduction to 1.8, but even at that, and granted, forgive me, I've gone through, put these numbers into Excel. These numbers may not necessarily be perfect, so please don't hang me from the yardarm for this. But these are numbers that are, I would at least expect to be reasonably close to what the actual would end up being. And forgive me for saying, but anybody who's looking at these numbers, I mean, who cares about a 1.8 second reload on a Daring, I suppose? But that 2.16, and this is before adrenaline rush on a Harugumo. I mean, holy shit. That's a lot of hurt coming your way real damn fast. On top of the fact that on level 1, the Harugumo, which already has, I think, 22,000 hit points, would get a 10% increase to her health pool. So not only is the ship harder to kill, it's shooting at you a shitload faster. Just as a regular course of action, without any of the captain's skills really being taken into account as far as just adrenaline rush. This is just the base hardcore start of the match numbers. Damn. Just plain damn. I have not gone over any numbers for cruisers, but I mean, come on, seriously? I don't think I really need to. Last but not least, of course, there is still one level beyond this. That is the level 3 upgrade, which would be a 10% reduction in consumable reload for battleships, along with a 40% increased action time of damage control party, and an increase of 1 for every consumable. 1 use for every consumable that has a use limit. Cruisers would have a 15% reduction to consumable reload, and an increase of 1 for every consumable. And of course, destroyers, and this is would be a huge deal as far as I'm concerned, you would have a substantial 10% increase to torpedo damage and a 2% increase to fire chance. Now, the fire chance may not necessarily be a huge deal for some of you, but that 10% torp damage, I mean, hell, Shimakaze already does enough damage with 1 torpedo hit to obliterate most destroyers. Lord help you if you're in a battleship on the receiving end of even just 3 or 4 of those. Now, it has been stated, according to the development blog, that this would only be restricted to ships from Tier 6 to Tier 10. So you would not see Paragon ships or, say, any of these bonuses affecting your Tier 1s up through Tier 5s. But here's the downside on this. Tier 6 ships can encounter Tier 5 ships in battle. So, personally, I would hate to be in my, say, USS New York, or even my premium USS Texas, and suddenly I encounter a level 3 upgraded, say, even just tech line USS New Mexico. I mean, hell, even a Fuso is a basic level. Stock Fuso is enough of a threat to a New York class battleship without any of these upgrades. I mean, I'm actually, me and a number of people, especially in the forums, are seriously wondering to know who the hell came up with this idea and thought it would be good. Because you're already taking ships that in some cases have substantial advantages over others, and now you're giving them more? I mean, hell, let's say I'm in my Tier 6 ship, say my New Mexico, and I'm a new player. I'm stock. I just got my brand shiny new New Mexico class battleship, and I end up in a match with, say, even just a level 2 Bismarck that has been upgraded by a expert player. My chances of survival are basically nil in that circumstance. I mean, the Bismarck, its secondary batteries alone on that regard, reaching out to 12 kilometers, he could sit at 12 kilometers and just rain death and destruction on me with his secondaries, which are phenomenally more accurate and have better range than ever before, on top of the fact that he now is tanking me with, what, maybe almost 90,000 hit points at this point? Holy shit. For that matter, let's look at extreme cases, because I think tier 5 ships can even see up to tier 7. I think. I'm not 100% positive. But let's say I take my New York class battleship, my Texas whatever, into battle, and I end up facing off against even the level 1 or level 2, level 3 Gneisenau. Oh yeah, that's a fair match. This system has the potential to thoroughly blow any balance of this game entirely out of whack. It basically takes any balance and throws it completely out the window. Which, again, is why a lot of people, up to and including myself, are saying, who the hell thought this was a good idea? And for that matter, who the hell thought that this was even capable of entering even just the basic testing stages? Oh, and according to what I've heard, in order to balance this out for the stock players, Wargaming's grand solution is free premium consumables. Say what? How is this supposed to balance any of this bullshit out? It doesn't even come close. I mean, your damage control, your repair party, this does nothing. On top of the fact that a lot of players are already using premium consumables just to play the game as it is and make any reasonable headway. And that's just looking at even just some players in co-op matches. This isn't even counting random battles. The cooperative, or not cooperative, the competitive aspects of the game. I mean, hell, Lord knows that most of the ships that I run, even on the lower tiers, I'm running premium consumables just because I can. I can afford them, and this does not level the playing field, Wargaming. Not even by a long shot. I want to know what they're smoking. I really do. Something else that's going on in the forums because of all of this, granted, I think some people are just reading through the notes and not really seeing a lot of the numbers, but at the same time, I still kind of have to think that they still have a point after a fashion. The first of this being that they're afraid that this is going to promote a lot of seal clubbing. And, well, while this does not affect the tier 1 through tier 5 ships, according to what I've already been looking at on the notes, there is still a valid point to be had here, because unfortunately, say everybody who is eligible for this Paragon system goes and resets their tech lines. Suddenly, where are all of those players going? They're being dumped back down on the tier 1, 2, 3 players trying to fully advance those tech lines again. Some of these players are players who would happily convert a 19-point commander to utterly dominate any of their competition at tier 1 or tier 2 when, say, you've got new players who don't even have a 3-point commander between 4 or 5 commanders. And let's not even mention ship progression here. yeah, that this does not bode well for the retention of new players, because with the influx of experienced players into the lower tiers, I could see this backfiring very badly. I mean, hell, even if they only pushed the tech line back to, say, tier 6 that you actually needed to do and start your regrind, at tier 6 there are still newer players there who haven't really learned the dynamics of the game to the fullest extent, and now you're dropping the hardcore tier 10 regrinder unicums onto them? Oh yeah, that's going to keep new players around. And let's not even mention everything that's going on with aircraft carriers for those who are unhappy with that system as it is. I mean, I seriously think part of why Wargaming is even considering this at all is because of the aircraft carrier changes and the fact that maybe while everybody's still blowing up about aircraft carriers, they're not going to be paying as much attention to this utter bullshit. Let's also not forget the fact that another proposal in this system is that you could actually separately grind these tech lines for upgrades to your premium ships, which oh yeah, let's see. People are already complaining about the Giulio Cesare and the Stalingrad, among others, being severely overpowered. Yeah, let's take these overpowered ships and give them even more bonuses. Oh, hell no! Yeah, let's just say that the reception so far on the forums is less than favorable from what I've been noticing. In fact, a lot of the players who appear to be coming out in support of this at all are players who have been longtime players, maxed out their tech lines, and really don't care about how they're looked upon for seal clubbing, among other things. But they're also not taking into consideration the simple fact that this has every chance of chasing away newer players. Which, okay, maybe that's what some of the unicums want to do because they really don't want their game being flooded by people who don't know what they're doing. At the same time, it's not their game. It's everybody's game. The game is basically everybody's who plays World of Warships. And unfortunately, as much as, or fortunately, I should probably say, as much as they don't want new players affecting their win rates, they're going to be there. They're going to stay. And chasing newcomers away from the game is not going to help the longevity of the game. In fact, it's only going to hurt over the long run. Now, some of the things that I have seen are, as far as counter proposals, is instead of buffs to the actual ship parameters regarding, say, your dispersion, reload, etc., I've actually seen some reasonable suggestions, like economic increases, economic bonuses, say increases to credit earnings, experience earnings, or even just the opportunity to unlock unique and only unlockable through this course premium camouflages, things that have effects on the ship without severely, and I do mean severely, affecting the balance of the game as a whole. Hell, I even saw one player in the forums who was suggesting that maybe as compensation for choosing to forget and regrind your tier 10 line, you got compensation in the form of, steel, which, oh my god, how many players can I think of who would be all over that? Yeah, that would be a substantially better idea than this proposed straight-up buff bullshit. Now, again, the numbers that I was spouting off earlier, keep in mind, these were just quick numbers that I plugged into Excel for destroyers and battleships. I did not attempt to run any numbers at all for cruisers. Currently, there is nothing proposed for leveling aircraft carriers. Enjoy that little snippet of information, if you will. But I mean, some of these numbers after the changes, these are just flat out ridiculous numbers, ridiculously advantageous numbers that have, as far as I'm concerned, that have absolutely no place being there. I would very much rather face off against, well, let me try and get that thought back together just a little bit. I would rather be stuck as a tier 7 in tier 10 battles than be stuck with this Paragon Naval Training Center, whatever it is, system that they implement. This from a standpoint of individual player longevity, I could see this being a good thing. But as far as the bonuses, the buffs that they are suggesting, I do not see this being good at all. I do enjoy some of the more minor merits that are suggested by this. Just, again, for playability of the game, replayability. But I seriously think that they need to revisit some of their numbers for the suggested buffs. I mean, I could see maybe 2 or 3% increases here and there, but I mean, 15% to a health bonus for battleships? I mean, I could see this being more of a graded system depending on your class, where maybe battleships get a 5% increase and your destroyers get a 15% increase to health. And I mean, dispersion, those reduction, that I could see maybe 2 or 3% bonuses, maybe something that would say offset like camo detriments. Say a 4% increase to offset a camo's 4% decrease to dispersion. Or maybe a, well, maybe no detection range bonuses. That could have all kinds of other ramifications. But maybe to offset, say, repair costs, things like that. Just things that would actually help the player without utterly disrupting the game balance. I mean, holy yeah. I think I've said what I really need to there. Just some of these numbers are just outright extreme. And definitely, and yeah, okay, I do have to say that while they do want to make some of the buffs seem worthwhile to everybody, if the buffs are too good, it's not going to be good for anybody. Because once that starts happening, once the better players who have the time to, say, regrind these lines quickly start getting into the game and playing through, and say they're on their tier 3 level 3 upgrades before they even some other players even have their tier 1s. Oh yeah, that's really gonna keep even veteran players in the game. I could see that chasing some veterans away very quickly. And I mean, hey, look at me. I've been playing the game for almost 4 years now. And I've only gotten like maybe 8 of my tech lines, I think, up to tier 10. And well, 3 of those are the German tech line because I just had all kinds of fun playing that line. But I mean, I've also got the Montana, I've got the Yamato, the Harugumo, and of course both of my aircraft carrier lines. Or, in fact, all 3 of my aircraft carrier lines are tier 10. So okay, that's maybe like closer to 10 that I've fully leveled out. But here's the thing. It's taken me 4 years to grind all of that out. Now, also keep in mind, I'm primarily a co-op player, so my grind is going to be substantially slower than, say, somebody else's who plays randoms on a regular basis, or clan wars, or ranked on a regular basis. So there's the other thing to keep in mind is, how is this going to affect my gameplay as a co-op player if somebody who, say, at tier, who is a high-level unicum from random or ranked, decides to fully progress to their tier 3, what is that going to do to my gameplay if they decide to come in and start trolling everybody in co-ops for whatever reason? And not necessarily trolling players by blapping them out of existence, because, well, in co-op you're all on the same team at least, but say using that advantage to basically just deny progression of other players on the same team who are purely just wanting to play in co-ops and enjoy their day, enjoy their game, who just don't have the speed or the progression to keep up with this player who's just decided to randomly drop in on them and basically shit on them. Which also comes back to the whole seal clubbing thing again, because say you know it's going to happen, even though these upgrades only affect the tier 5s or tier 6s, what's to stop a substantially more progressed or advanced player from dropping into tier 5 or tier 6 matches and just raising all kinds of hell? Oh yeah, that's really going to help keep new players or even some veterans, because maybe there are some veterans who enjoy playing at the lower tiers, and they may not necessarily be the best players, but they're not bad. But they're suddenly, now they've got these high-end unicums who are regrinding their ships and just enjoying trolling players at the lower tiers with less experience, or who just don't have the skill level to really be among the highly competitive players. That's not going to benefit anybody, Wargaming. That's not going to benefit anybody at all. In other news, some of the changes they're suggesting in this whole development, that same post, are again making premium consumables free access or free to use, basically, so everybody can get them, which at that point, why even have them? And of course, let's also look at the fact that they're finally addressing some of the AA changes that players have been clamoring for a little while. Yeah. Just a hunch, they should have really only addressed 2 of those if they really wanted to kind of keep a positive outlook. I just want to know how the hell this Naval Training Center fiasco even came into anybody's head as a good idea. At the very least, I would think that, okay, maybe it's a good idea in principle, but again, I think they just need to revisit what they're planning on giving the players for this whole initiative or program or whatever, because that's where the work actually needs to go in. Actually, I take it back. The other change that was proposed with this wasn't a AA adjustment, but it was a adjustment to the overall matchmaker mechanics. So either way, though, that's still just yeah. Even these matchmaker mechanics, and that's one of the other things with this whole I guess I could say Paragon system again that they're planning on introducing, is just in order to make it viable in other regards, if they did go ahead with it, it would necessitate a major overhaul of the matchmaking system to keep say, your level 3 upgraded ships from ending up in battle with stock ships, as far as I'm concerned. That would absolutely benefit nobody. There's even just the level 1 upgrade is a major advantage over a stock player. So yeah, that's just one of those things to kind of have in the back of your mind as you think about this, I suppose. In other news for World of Warships, however, the development blog for, or the developer bulletin for the 8.6 patch, which is coming about the end of, the end of July, most likely, is that, and there may be some who are going to rejoice to hear this, others who may cringe in fear, is that bot aircraft carriers are finally, according to the developer's bulletin, being added back to co-op matches. This is something that was planned or promised, I believe, as of 8.4. So we're only getting it 2 patches late, according to some of the initial Wargaming estimates. But at least it's finally happening, and it is going to make life so much better as far as I am concerned. Because now I will not have to look at my Tier 10 aircraft carrier wanting to go into a match with my aircraft carrier and consider the possibility that that Tier 10 aircraft carrier, which may only have, say, 60,000 hit points and maybe about 100,000 potential actual damage output at best, could at all being dragging a Grosser Kurfürst into a match. Again, I think whoever thought of substituting battleships for aircraft carriers as of the 8.0 update was really smoking some good shit, because there is no way in hell that that was at all balanced or fair. I mean, hell, now thinking about it, think about if that were to remain the way indefinitely, where, say, they moved forward with this naval training stuff, and say the bots have the capability of spawning a +3 battleship in a Tier 10 match where you bring in your aircraft carrier. Oh, hell no! I think a lot of players would leave the game extremely quickly just for that little gem right there. Now, there are a whole bunch of other adjustments, changes, and so on that are coming as of the 8.6 update, and I will go over those probably in a later video, but for right now I'm running out of time. I'm looking at my video feed, and I've really only got about 2 more minutes. But overall, yeah, I really just wanted to discuss the whole Naval Training Center thing at length, because that is going to be a huge issue in time to come, I think, provided that the forums do not just utterly destroy the idea before it actually gets anywhere. Personally, I hope they do destroy the idea before it gets anywhere, because I do not want to live in a Warships world where that actually exists. Yeah. Anyway, I suppose on that note, I shall go ahead and start letting you all go to kind of make your own opinions, maybe even look up the development blog yourself and read some of the posts that are going on there. And just kind of let you all move on with your day. I hope you all take care, and I will catch you all next time. Have a good one, folks. Happy hunting.